Welcome to the Wealth Transfer. We're going to get into how all of we've been talking about is directly impacting we the people in the United States. So stay tuned. All right. Now, I imagine all these weeks we've been talking about Russia and China and Ukraine, and is this relevant? And I know to some extent it could be dry, but if you can see the bigger picture I was evolving to, you'll understand that I'm just trying to protect we the people's future, the future of our wealth, the future of our standard of living. And in the kingdom per se, because, thank goodness we got a slight reprieve here, but we were ready to get hammered, folks, in the kingdom. I know I've seen it come out of Clinton's mouth that she would have taken, she would go after the exemptions for churches and religious ministry. So there was coming down a way to shut down. I mean, look at that mayor in Houston who demanded the sermon notes of ministers because they were advocating against this transsexual bathroom stuff. I tell you what, you can't make that up. That's like the movies. That kind of persecution is what's coming, and they're going to continue to do it. I mean, these nutcases on TV, Bill Maher and all those other people, they will do everything they can to make a conservative look like they're crazy. And one thing I've learned about socialists, I have their manifestos, Storm, you name them. These folks, that's designed to insult you and claim you to be the very thing they are, and then they deflect it from themselves. So their attacks on conservatives is merely a way to kind of deflect from their socialist evil concept of living. And this is not a big deal in a lot of ways. It's been here since pretty much the day of time. It's definitely since World War II, right? So it's not uncommon. I'm just merely saying that persecution's coming to we the people. And, you got good old flyover America. They have plenty of guns, so I sure like to see him try. And I think Bill Clinton, I have to say, was pretty smart in a lot of ways. Can't believe I'm even saying that, but he was. He even warned them, be careful going after the guns because all of you lefties on the coast, you have no idea of what flyover America is. And these people walk with guns. They live with guns. They hunt. They eat what they kill. You try to take that gun away, good luck. And he's right. A major portion of this country is so natural to have a gun. And so you see, there's just an ideological difference. Now, this has all been through history. But the persecution's coming. And we got a slight reprieve. But in the kingdom, we better have our resources protected. Your retirement accounts, your savings accounts preserved properly. Because if not, with what's coming here financially, you're going to wish you did. So I'm going to get into more of how this is impacting America. The long, embarrassing death of the dollar is stuff I talk about often. In 1913, when they took over after a few assassinations on those who were trying to prevent it, but when they took over the banking system, from that point, this dollar at that point actually had some pretty strong buying power. Remember, back in the day, you could buy certain candies for a penny, right? A penny made something. And I hear the arguments all the time, oh gosh, we make so much more money. I'm telling you right now, it just doesn't equate. I've done the math. We are not making nearly the money we needed to buy the goods and services. We just don't. The inflation doesn't equate. So back in the day, the dollar was very valuable, and its buying power is really what I'm getting at. And as you can see in this chart, we had a few epic periods where in 1933, FDR suspended the gold convertibility. He made gold illegal for U.S. citizens to own because gold was our money. And then, of course, after that, it was the Great Depression, so we kept collapsing in buying power because at that point, he then changed the ratio of how much gold in a ratio to the dollar, and he diluted basically the currency, diluted the buying power. No different than if you take a Olympic-sized swimming pool and dump a thing of cranberry juice in it. It just disappears, doesn't it? where if you dump cranberry juice in a bucket of water, it'll be red. So Roosevelt diluted it. And then, of course, the value buying power went down over those decades. Then in 1971, Bretton Woods got suspended, and the gold exchange system got eliminated, hence the fiat currency. And ever since 1971, although we had this perceived American dream and financial boom, it was merely money printing and credit and expansion of credit. That's all it was. It was everything the Bible told us never to do, because the borrower is servant to the lender. And if we in the kingdom would have always stayed focused on things he gave us, think about this for a second. Lucifer in the Bible is God of the world, and the world defined in the Bible is the systems of. God said he gave us dominion over things of the earth. Think about that. He didn't say get dominion over the world. Things of the earth. Silver, oil, cotton, corn. That's why I love farmers. Most of them are good, thoroughbred Christians. God gave us dominion over things of the earth. If we in the kingdom, which predominantly the United States is, I mean, we're still, I think, 70-some%, believe in God, and we were a hardcore Christian nation back then. If we would have stayed focused and put all of our wealth in things of the earth like the farmers did, and we owned all the cotton, we owned all the oil instead of Exxon. If we owned all the gold and the silver and all the other tangible things God gave us dominion over, who would control the world? Yeah, that's right, us. We would. See, we were always designed to have that wealth. And for the Christians that speak about poverty, I just don't know what book they're reading. It's just the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Religion blinds you. The gospel does not. But we in the kingdom had the ability to have that wealth. And many, many churches, I believe, failed the people by not helping them understand this. It's just an unfortunate thing. Most of them, even to this day, still don't even understand the whole idea of gold and silver. I hear misused quotes, even from Ezekiel. Oh, I heard it was no good because they're going to throw the gold and silver in the street. To read your Bible, folks. How often do you read it? Because that's not what it's saying. He's basically telling you that, of course, if you're not saved, if you're not in God in the end time, when this whole thing is hitting the fan, gold and silver is not even going to save you. You can't buy your way into heaven. Catholics, I don't understand where you get that from. You can't buy, well, I understand why they were doing it, but, it's not honest. You can't buy your way into heaven. Gold and silver is not going to do you any good to heaven. But you better believe on the moment of tribulation, or that moment of the persecution in the end time, this stuff is the only thing that's going to save you. This will be the end time currency for we the people. And there's so much biblical reference to that, and some religious people really getting tough over it, but I just tell you, if we had owned things of the earth all along, we would be dominating this world. The problem is, our religious leaders are just as evil and corrupt sometimes as secular public people. So I get it. I understand. It's sad. I know. I guess if anything, we're just talking to the remnant. Those that really love our Lord Jesus Christ. Those that really, really believe in the power and the authority of the Holy Spirit in your life. Because this is a big deal to what we're putting our hard-earned wealth into. The Chinese are coming and they're building it, but here in America, we're losing a tremendous amount of buying power, and it's going to continue. It's not slowing down. And it's very important we in the kingdom get in the right place, because if we're in the right place, we can be there for others, and I think that's one of the most important things. So who's been doing this? Who's been protecting this market system? I thought everything was going good. It's 4-point-some% GDP, or no, GDP unemployment, and our GDP's booming, and all this is going great. Wait until you see what I have to show you. That's not exactly the case, but of course it's the plunge protection team. Notable activity: 1986, 96, 2006, 2016. Yes, the central bank traders with fake money, with fake trades, because they control it. Remember, They can tell you what to do in a socialist world or in a government world when they got the gun to your head, right? Whether it's true or right or wrong or not, it doesn't matter. The plunge protection team, which is really nothing more than saying central bankers sitting in a trade desk trading money that they can just print off of thin air. And they do that ferociously. This year alone, $2 trillion central banks have put into the system to support this stock market. So if you think the stock market's real, if anything, if you had a good time making some money in it, good. Get out. Get diversified. At least be diversified. Got to take a quick break. Be right back.
Terrorism, a volatile stock market, rising food costs, natural disasters. Every day our economy is at risk, but your assets should not be. Cornerstone Asset Metals is here to help you protect and preserve what you have worked so hard to gain. Whether you have IRAs to protect, 401ks to preserve, or cash in the bank, our accredited asset management specialists are here to support you. Call now and we'll send you urgent information regarding changes to the dollar and challenges to our economy that you need to be prepared for. Learn how easy it is to roll over your current IRA or 401k into a physical precious metals IRA. We can even arrange to have your precious metals stored in a private vault or send it directly to your home. Do not delay. Call 888-747-3309 or register online at cornerstoneassetmetals.com today. Invest in precious metals and create security in your future today. Call now.
Welcome back. So, I mean, what I like to try to do, and I know I say this often, but I want to make sure you understand, especially if you're new, it's not doomsday. I actually have hope. And this isn't fear. This is data, and it's real. We're going through a period that's going to take place here of something we have never seen yet in our kind of modern time, last 40 years or so. The dollar is going to lose its reserve status. It will go away. All great nations have done it. I'm really saying that if we are in the right place as a kingdom, and especially most of our assets being in IRAs, that's why I advocate for physical silver in your IRA that your brokers can't do for you. Only companies like Cornerstone can do that. But the reserve currency is a big deal because reserve currency gave a nation the power and the authority in the world. Check this out. The history of world reserve currencies. If you notice, they all have a timeline. Actually, the Portuguese, probably had it almost the longest. But if you go back even to the 1400s, you see who had the dominant reserve currency. It was France, the Netherlands, Spain, you have Britain, and then America. There's always a transitionary period, the dominant period, and then I call like a cool down until the next group comes in. The dollar has already run its course. It's done. I'm telling you folks, it's done. So how it's going to impact you is if you're in this, when this takes place, you're going to lose tremendous buying power, savings, and the future ability to do things you think you're going to do. If you're in stuff like this, when the dollar collapses and the reserve currency status changes, you're going to have protection and added wealth. So it's a difference of what kind of money you're holding. Because remember, silver is our U.S. constitutional money. Article 1, Section 8, grains of silver was defined as what money was. But the United States is now in the cool down, and we're losing it. Now, I contend, this is purely my opinion, I have a bad feeling we'll go to war before we'll allow this to happen. And I think that's why we're trying to push Russia. Because now we've already entered into a period already into the buildup phase here where the United Nations, now they have the United Nations, but what I'm saying is the SDR is going to be, my contend anyway, is going to be the next global currency. And the SDR is strategic drawing right of the IMF. And I really believe that that is the next level of global currency. Now, we in America will still have a dollar of some kind. And it may even be this thing, who knows, but we'll have a fiat currency dollar. And that dollar will only be good inside the United States. But if we do international trade and finance, it'll be done in this SDR unit. They're already in the build-up phase, folks. This isn't a debate. It already is in place. It's just a matter of the triggers being pulled and the hammers coming down and the reckoning taking place. And I believe before that happens, they're kind of aligning up some things, and I think they needed the Chinese permission for numerous reasons I can't get into. That's why the Chinese were put into the IMF reserve currency basket. But the SDR is coming, and that, ironically goes along with what I showed you earlier in 2018 from that Economist magazine, how they actually have this New World Order currency called for 2018. So it's pretty ironic on the timing of it. But I can only tell you the impact. When we lose reserve currency status, when this is no longer the reserves currency, and with the 20 trillion in debt, the 60, 70 trillion in unfunded liabilities, and the trillions in printed, this will be like wallpaper. And we'll have to do a new dollar of some kind that they somehow reset inside our border. So they'll have you turn in your old dollars for this new currency, and I promise you it won't be one-to-one. And that's why you're going to want to have this kind of protection. Now, the part about all this that becomes the wealth transfer from those of the wicked into the hands of the innocent, which would be we the people, Christians, kingdoms, is that when that dollar goes through the transition of losing it, I don't know if it's going to be slow, or if it's just going to be a bam. It could be the war that does it, and the dollar collapses in value. And it could collapse tremendously, folks. It could collapse 30, 40% in value, you see. When that takes place, silver is going to be a phenomenal wealth transfer stable asset, because silver doesn't go up and down. The paper currency value goes up and down, making silver more valuable and not valuable. So no different than the example I gave you with gas and silver and the dollar. In that period, you're going to want to have a tangible asset away from the paper. And there's people who just wake up and get it, and some will probably go down fighting. But a way to kind of explain it that maybe visually, maybe you think everything's okay. I know, I hear it. Oh, that's the Trump effect. Everything's going great, man. Economy's booming. Yeah, there was a sigh of relief that the Antichrist Clinton didn't get in. And there's a big chunk of America that said, whew, let's spend some money. Let's go to busy. Let's get working. And we're starting to push for work and reforms that maybe help businesses and small businesses, bringing in jobs. And it did. It stimulated the psyche, but it didn't change the data. Housing, automobiles, student loans. Folks, they're at epic peaks that are ready to just explode in bad ways. And that's just the beginning. Look at this right here. New York Stock Exchange, investor credit, and the market. I'm telling you, the credit, it's a monster. But look at the peaks here. The first big dip in the middle, in the red. Now let's just speak with the red. The first big dip in the red, 2000. Ironic 9/11, huh? The next big dip, which was kind of a slight dip, was 2008. Now remember, 2008 was catastrophic. Was it? And this, you would see it's not. See, this is credit balance, and it's calculated in the sum of free credit and cash accounts. Credit balance is in margin accounts, minus margin debt and things. But the bottom line is, it's about credit. It's about the expansion of credit, and it's about markets. And the blue line just so happens to be the S&P 500. So if you notice in the middle there, the first big dip in red, you notice where the blue line was. Yeah, it was at a peak, August 2000. Right before the markets collapsed, didn't it? So when the red in the credit was at the deepest part, the blue in the stock markets were at the highest part. And then 2008 happened again. Look at the deep red trough in the middle, and remember the market collapsed in 2008. Look at the explosion of the blue line of credit. Blew up into the stratosphere. Way up over 2,500 now. And look how deep that red is in credit. Folks, the borrower is servant slave to the lender. You're seeing right here red that is so deeply entrenched in credit, and a market system, stock market, that is so out of whack to that credit. I don't know about you, But correlations like this that you've seen the track record of right in front of you right now with this graph only tells me one thing. That blue's coming down and that red's going to end up going back up, meaning credit is going to freeze and that market's going to crash. Eventually. Could it be another month, 6 months, year? I don't know. But I can tell you what, that is so huge, I can't even begin to tell you. And this is what the state of America is today. And now, credit balances, in the green, you can kind of tell you anyway, those are positive credit balances. Those are periods where we actually were more fluent in liquidating cash. And if you notice the big green spike that exists there, the only one, yeah, that was right around the market crash, 2008. That's when people kind of just cleaned out and hunkered down, right? And they got rid of credit cards and such. I did at that time. I didn't have credit cards and never did ever since. So I get it. But is that just it? Is it all about just that? Or is there more to it? Check this out. Average annual productivity, year-over-year percentage. Now, this is staggering to me. And before I go to it, what I'm going to do is take a break. But before I go to it, I want you to notice when I bring this up. Year-over-year productivity is always really huge. It's in the green. And only red, there's only a handful of times in a long time here of our economic history where we've had negative year-over-year productivity. So wait till you see what that is. So I'm going to take a quick break, and before I do, just keep this in mind. An education is the best place to invest yourself. So in order to do so, you need to kind of get the right information. In order to be properly protected and preserved, you need to have the information. So be educated. Cornerstone's a great place to get started. Got to take a quick break. Be right back.
Terrorism, a volatile stock market, rising food costs, natural disasters. Every day our economy is at risk, but your assets should not be. Cornerstone Asset Metals is here to help you protect and preserve what you have worked so hard to gain. Whether you have IRAs to protect, 401ks to preserve, or cash in the bank, our accredited asset management specialists are here to support you. Call now and we'll send you urgent information regarding changes to the dollar and challenges to our economy that you need to be prepared for. Learn how easy it is to roll over your current IRA or 401k into a physical precious metals IRA. We can even arrange to have your precious metals stored in a private vault or send it directly to your home. Do not delay. Call 888-747-3309 or register online at cornerstoneassetmetals.com today. Invest in precious metals and create security in your future today. Call now.
Welcome back. All right, so I want to get into this annual average productivity. Now, this is a percentage year over year, and America has been productive. I mean, we really did do this. Credit kind of works. When you do a lot of credit, you can do things with it, that's for sure. And so it has a good side. Look at this image here. If you notice, every year going back literally, what is that, the 30s? Yeah, no, 50s, 40s, yeah, in the 50s even. I mean, I'm amazed how far back it goes. All the way, we've always had predominantly very productive years year over year. And then we had one major collapse in the 70s, then another collapse in the 80s, or the 90s there. And then you notice ever since like 90, the beginning of 90, we've had pretty much productive years. You notice even in 2008, it was still productive. But look where it is now. That's right. Red again. We haven't seen that in decades. Folks, that's a big deal, man. Big deal. Because all the information they've been showing you, all the data they keep telling you, they're not telling you the truth of what really is taking place around the country. That's why I have the Chinese Silk Road de-dollarization beginning, because it is about taking the dollar's hegemony away from the world, the authority and dominance of the world. And I always love this quote by Thomas Paine. I thought it was pretty good. To argue with a person who has renounced the use of reason is like administering medicine to the dead. That's good stuff. It's good stuff. Why? Because 2008 was a warning sign. Actually, 9/11 was. And I'm not going to get into the Shemitahs because to me, those are stunningly accurate. But 2008 was a warning sign, folks. How many remember Lehman Brothers? Right? What happened? This great picture of them walking away with a sign. And out of Lehman Brothers came what? The financial crash of 2008. It was a big one, more than people ever would realize. I like this one here. Who will be next? Folks, listen to this litany of companies. Lehman Brothers, Citibank, Merrill Lynch, UBS, Wachovia, Washington Mutual. Do you remember Washington Mutual? I do. Santander, Credit Suisse, Royal Bank of Scotland, HSBC, Wachovia's gone, Washington Mutual's gone. Many financial institutions went out in '08. These all got sucked up. And I have a heavy client that worked in the banking system at the time. And she was right up there at the top of the chain. And she said that the government was forcing the banks to lend money and take credit to stimulate things. It was astonishing bad economics. So many companies went out. And if you ever see the movie The Big Short, you'll understand. The Big Short is huge because it showed how we got into this collateralized debt obligation stuff and why the mortgages did it and why it collapsed. It was a phenomenal movie. And the part I think I liked the most, he tried to warn or tried to tell the government for years after how he discovered the problem. And do you know not one person would meet with him? They didn't want to know, you see, because they know the system's not right. So I understand where we're at. I get what's coming. This information and data is real. It's just a matter of when the hammer falls. So what I want to do is just make sure that we in the kingdom are always protected. So we're going to continue more later on. We're going to show a little more about American data. We're going to show a little more about what's really happening inside America and how this global macro idea is going to impact we the people. But until then, continue to be educated. And I just encourage each and every one of you to talk with one another, spread the information, spread our information out. Give it to individuals, links so they can, if they're not in satellite, they can watch it. Go to Cornerstone Asset Metals, be a part of Facebook, like them. I think you'll enjoy the news clips that that's going to bring. And in the meantime, reevaluate your portfolio. Be diversified, be properly protected, and may God bless each and every one of you. May the fire of heaven bring joy and light up your soul in this holiday time.